Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for being here. So the topic, reset the way you think. I'll take you through my presentation first, and then we'll decide if I have been able to reset your thinking or not. I'm Dr. Qureshi, an aerospace engineer, and I'm working on eco-friendly aircraft engines for the global aviation industry. And the purpose is to combat climate change in the sky. So I'm not sure, I think everybody has seen this white line of smoke that comes out of aircraft engines when they are flying. If you look up into the sky, you see that. And how many of you are aware that that white smoke, although that looks beautiful coming out of the plane, but it's responsible for 50% of global warming in the sky. And that has its repercussions on the ground in terms of forest fires, floods, all kinds of climate change, weather changes in weather patterns. So I'll take you around through this presentation to tell you why. So when we talk about the environment, when we talk about clean environment, we are always talking about carbon dioxide. Why? Because carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. On the ground, it has many industrial contributors, the industry, fossil fuel burning, and there are also many offsets. We can grow trees to combat it, and we can have emission processing plants around industries to process carbon dioxide emissions. Similarly, in the sky, there's a similar phenomena going on because aviation is the only industry operating in the sky, and the knowledge around the global warming caused by aviation is not very widespread. And in the sky, there are two emission contributors. It's not only carbon dioxide, there's also the non-carbon emissions. So on the sky, on the ground, it's only carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. In the sky, there's carbon dioxide as well as non-carbon emissions called contrails. So contrails is basically this white smoke that I was talking about, which is visible in the picture, the bottom picture, that comes out of the planes. And what is it? This is actually frozen water vapor. When we burn any fuel, we get any fossil fuel, any hydrocarbon fuel, we get carbon dioxide and water as two byproducts. Now, carbon dioxide is a gas, and on the ground, water vapor condenses into water, liquid water, so it is not harmful. But in the sky, when we are flying at an altitude of around 10,000 meters, this water vapor acts as a greenhouse gas. It is also a gas. And this has a global warming potential, which is 5 times more than carbon dioxide. So it is, carbon dioxide is only contributing around 3 to 4% to aviation-induced global warming in the sky, whereas contrails contribute around 50% to global warming in the sky. And they are disturbing the Earth's radiation budget and are also affecting, climate change on the ground. The challenge is that it does not have offsets. For example, we cannot grow trees in the sky. So anything that is done to combat this emission has to be on the plane and on the engine. And aircrafts and aircraft engines have very high stringent standards of airworthiness because human life is involved. It's not like a car that it breaks down and you can park it and go home. So everything has to be very fail-safe, very airworthy, very light to fly, and that's what makes aviation-induced global warming a very big challenge. So in this figure, we are looking at the contrail cover, which is on the left side what it was many years ago, and on the right it is what it's going to be in 2050. The red zones are indicating the contrail cover. So when we burn, like aviation's fuel burn annually is around 4 billion tons, and we are releasing 5 billion tons of water in the atmosphere due to aircraft flight. And out of which half of them form contrails that we have seen in the picture below, and they are basically artificial clouds. We can call them artificial clouds. They are not natural clouds, and therefore they are not in equilibrium with our ecosystem, and therefore they cause global warming. So the global total radiative forcing, or the total global warming that's caused by contrails, is 1 trillion watts of heat, which is almost a third of the world's total electricity consumption. The total world's electricity consumption is only 3 trillion watts. So what we've done, we have, this work was given to me during my PhD. I worked with my father, who was also a scientist, and we've invented a new engine. Actually a device which is an add-on to an engine that processes these contrail emissions, or the exhaust emissions of aircraft fuel burn, and converts the water vapor content into liquid water, so that you get a clean exhaust in the atmosphere, and you can process this exhaust emission or the liquid water and release it as artificial rainfall around airports in regions where water scarcity exists. So I'll show you just a small product animation. You can see this is a contrail that's coming out of an aircraft engine. It's something what we also see when we look up in the sky. So this is a new invention that's put onto it, and we see that the contrail has disappeared, and now this is processed into liquid water, which we can release before landing as artificial rainfall. If we want to grow a forest in the Gulf areas or in drought-stricken areas in Africa, this water can be purposed. The other thing that shows here on the left is just the technology readiness level. When we talk about technology development, you know, it starts with a lab idea, it starts with a concept, and then it's developed in the lab. And then, you know, it has to be taken further into prototyping and testing, and then flying missions or getting airborne. It's very similar if this is, there are people with medical background, it's just like clinical trials which go stage by stage. So this is a NASA standard for aviation, for anything that has to fly in the air from 1 to 9, and we are at present at technology readiness level 6. So these are the patents, or the international patents that we won on this. We've been granted on this technology because it's a kind of a revolution that will come into the global aviation industry, inshallah, to combat global warming due to aviation. There's for every invention, every product, in order to achieve commercial success, we need to make it as a business case. So this is just the market. At present, there are just 2 or 3 multinational big giants who are making aircraft engines for the, you know, planes we fly in, like the A320 or the Boeing 777. And that's Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney, and GE Aviation. And similarly, you know, when you fly, the plane is either Boeing or it's an Airbus. So there's the aviation industry is very monopolized, and that is what makes this very challenging. Because when we talk about the environment, their profits are compromised, and that's not something that they like. And they bring up arguments like it's going to be expensive. And it's just like saying that, during COVID, we can't put in ventilators because it's going to be expensive. That's not an option. We only have one planet to live on, and we have to save it. So this is just the ecosystem that we've built around the invention. In the center, we have our technology and the engine, and that's going to be provided to the engine manufacturer to be fitted on the engine. And then the auxiliary system would be developed with the aircraft manufacturer. It's going to be integrated. And then the airlines would be provided with this new environment, eco-friendly aircraft and engine configuration. The airlines can earn money by selling rainfall to local governments, or they can get carbon credits or emission credits through contrail trading or emission trading. Secondly, it's also a backup for environmental agencies to bring in regulations, because we know that all industries are under emission regulations except for aviation. Aviation is exempted. And one of the reasons is that it's all what's happening is hidden in the sky. And secondly, because it's a very niche industry, and the knowledge is very specialized, and the knowledge is only contained within the 3 or 4 giant corporates, and they follow a specific agenda. So there is nobody that is bringing this out in the notice of the wider audience or the governments or the general public. And regulations are generally passed by governments, and what they need is an alternate technology. They need a backup. They cannot say that if we have to control emissions because of global warming and climate change, we stop flying. That's not a solution. So we have invented this also as a backup, or offering an alternate technology to the world to pass regulation on emissions from aircraft. So in a competitive landscape, we can also look at other environment-centric technologies that are coming into the world. And one of them is a hybrid electric aircraft, which has an engine and also a main engine powering a few small electric generators. It's for large planes, because some technologies are efficient on small planes, some technologies are efficient on large planes. And when we talk about the all electric, I'm sure you've heard about electric planes or electric vehicles. It's possible, or it's optimal for small planes. But the technology we have in terms of batteries in the world at the moment is not optimal for large planes. It's like carrying a whole powerhouse or a grid station in the air, which is not possible. Then we have liquid hydrogen fuel. The world is also trying to replace fossil fuel or hydrocarbon fuel with hydrogen fuel, because with hydrogen fuel burn, you don't get carbon dioxide, but you still get contrails, and that is what our technology is about, to mitigate contrails or the non-carbon emissions. We also have hydrogen fuel cells, ammonia fuel combustion, but this is again, fuel cells are for small planes, single-seater, two-seater, five-seater maximum. Sustainable aviation fuel is another area that people are working on, but again, the total output of sustainable aviation fuel in the world is not sufficient to cater for all the flying. And then we also have supersonic low noise flying, which is basically for combating noise pollution in the air. So, as I mentioned, that the only industry operating in the sky is aviation, and it is the sole contributor of greenhouse gas emissions and global warming in the atmosphere. It has two contributors, contrails and carbon dioxide, both carbon emissions and non-carbon emissions. And we have a challenge to move from zero carbon technologies to zero emission technologies, because on the ground we can only, even if we do zero carbon technologies, we are good to go. And for that, this is the invention that we have made, and the engine, our engine will enable all aircraft to move from zero carbon to zero emission. So this is just a business case, how we started this work. This is my team, and this is my daughter with me in an engine. She named my company Aero Engine Craft when she was 6 years old. In terms of resetting the way we think, number one is that whenever we talk about climate change, we are always talking about the ground, about the earth. Nobody is looking up to the sky. One, because it's hidden. Secondly, because it's very challenging in terms of the technology. And more so because it's been monopolized. Because all the experts of the technology are part of the 3 or 4 major aviation giants, which are following their own agenda and are not, and have very limited interest in the environment, which is critical because I always mention that we might be living in different regions. We might be having our regional challenges, local challenges on the ground of climate change and pollution, but we all share the same sky. We are under one roof, and it is everybody's problem. Secondly, I would say that such an initiative about revolutionizing the industry is, we are always looking up to big companies to take this kind of initiative. I took this decision to take this step and to take up this challenging of changing the perspective, one, about aviation, and secondly, to challenge all the multinationals and to bring this technology of environment-friendly aircraft into the global market on my own. So thirdly, starting from a Pakistani company. When I did my PhD, I had many opportunities to set this up abroad and a lot of support and funding, but I decided that I would come back to Pakistan, and I had worked with my father on these inventions, and we both set this up as a Pakistani company to take it to the world. And also that now with the world being a global village, it's your work that is your recognition. It does not matter where you are placed, and whether you are a Pakistani company or what your nationality is, but it's actually the work or even the size. Because in the modern jargon, industrial jargon, we say that in the modern world, the big will not eat the small, the fast will eat the slow. So we have to be the first ones to bring it out to the world. And lastly, I would say that there are some very unfortunate incidents that are happening around the world. And at many times, we feel very helpless, and we think that we are too small or too helpless to do anything or to change anything. So I think that is the perspective that we need to reset, because everything starts with an intention. The first thing is कि आप नियत तो करें कि आपने कुछ बदलना है या आपने कुछ contribute करना है, चाहे वो आपके मुल्क में है, चाहे वो दुनिया में है. Anywhere you want to end suppression, you want to end injustice, whatever it is, the first thing is to make an intention. And with that intention, you move on. And then the important thing is that what I read somewhere, that you don't run the universe, somebody else does. So we only need to take our own step. We need to do our own contribution. And the rest, you will find that other people and the entire ecosystem will move accordingly, and people will start contributing their bit, and you will be able to bring a change. But this all starts with your intention. And I quote my own example with my company. This is the only company in the world making a hardware technology for aircraft engines to combat climate change. And this is being run by a woman as a Pakistani company. And I have presented this to the big industrial giants in aviation, and they all believe in it. They think this technology will inshallah come through. So I'm just quoting this to tell you that it's not about being small, it's not about being Pakistani, it's not about being a woman. You can do anything. Just take the first initiative and make an intention. So I hope when I leave you today, you make your intention for something in the world that you want to change. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.